So I wrote an article about a month ago about how VR is going to completely change the way that we design in architecture and also the way that we visualize architecture. I put that up on my blog. And today, again, well, a couple weeks ago, we had the release of Unreal Studio from Epic Games with the Datasmith importer, which was a big deal. I made a video about that as well. And it's a huge workflow bridge between ArcViz and VR, which I think is awesome because clearly these guys all see that that's the way the industry is moving. Today we have another huge announcement from Chaos Group saying that introducing that Vray for Unreal is now in open beta. So I want to take a look at kind of what that does. Here I am on the Chaos Group site. We can join the beta, we can download, you'll need an account to get it. And then we just install it. And I'm going to take this scene without adjusting anything and see how it does performing. Kind of like I did with Datasmith, just export this, import it into Unreal Engine, and see what kind of things we can get. And we'll look at a few of the things that come with the UE4 Unreal Engine beta. A few notes about installation. Here I'm installing the software. I'm going to install it for 4.19. It's also compatible with 4.18. I'm going to make this a local Vray license server machine, and it's going to install the online license server with this installation. If you don't need that, you can uncheck, install it, and then it'll ask you to sign in to your online license server with the same credentials that you downloaded the beta with. And as always, Vray installs very quickly and easily. Okay, to do our work here, it's pretty easy. All we have to really do is right-click and do a vrscene exporter of this building here. I'm just going to leave those settings as is and create a path for it to go to. Now in your Epic Games launcher, make sure you've got the latest 4.19. I'm going to have to update here. Vray will not show up as one of the installed plugins, but it is there. I'll show you how to get it running once we're inside the engine. Okay, inside of 4.19 Unreal Engine, I am just going to set up a new project that is blank. And the settings don't really matter. We'll just say Vray, import, test, create project. Let's see what happens. Okay, it should come up with a sign saying new plugins are available. You can either go to manage plugins or you can just come up here, go to settings plugins, make sure Vray for Unreal is enabled. We want that enabled as well. And Unreal Editor must be restarted, so you can just hit restart now. If you get this, it means that you might not have the latest update for 4.19, so make sure and get that. Okay, I got my engine updated, and it only takes up about 17 billion gigabytes on my hard drive, so I cleared everything out so I can get it on there, and it's all updated now. And the first thing you should see is that the plugins are up and enabled. So we're ready to go now. You should see a Vray button up here. Check this, check settings. It should come up with settings if your license server is working properly. Okay, once you get into Unreal and everything's installed properly, you should be able to hit the Vray settings here and this will come up. If it doesn't come up, it's probably because you have a licensing issue, but make sure you get your online licensing working properly and linked to the same account that you downloaded your demo from or your beta from. Then everything should work. Now when we go to import, we can click on our file and it gives us the option to bring in all these things. I'm going to leave my settings like this and import. Didn't have any lights in the scene, so that's okay. Let's give it a second to import. Okay, here it comes. It's compiling the shaders still. This imported quite a ways away from 0, probably because of where it was in max. That's okay. We can go into our world outliner and select one of these objects and hit F and it'll focus on it, take us to where we need to be. Okay, so I do like this. One nice thing about this is that this comes in with the pivot in the right spot, as you can see in the center of the object. But it does not have to be parented to a little node like the Datasmith importer does. So that's kind of nice. So when you select this, you're actually selecting the static mesh, not a dummy object that is its parent. And the pivots, as you can see, are in the right place. Now what I have noticed with the Vray importer is that a lot of materials do not work. I'm not sure why. I've only imported a few other things. Haven't fully tested this. I'm just trying to demonstrate what happens when you try to bring this in for the very first time. And I didn't change anything, as you know. But here it comes. There's a lot of shaders that just don't work. So if I click on this, it will say apparent material that is unknown. Okay, for the materials that did work, it's kind of cool, like garage door. Okay, so what it will do is it takes a parent material, a V-Ray material, and then if you go into this, it's totally insane. That's the V-Ray material. But then some of these settings are editable in the material instance. Okay, so it's like these are parameters in that parent material that can be edited, and they set it up so that these parameters actually adjust similar to what a regular BRDF V-Ray material would be like. So this is something you'll be used to if you use V-Ray a lot. So now it just becomes, instead of node-based stuff, you can just change the diffuse color or apply a map, use diffuse texture, and then you can just put a map in there, right? Okay. And then there's the Fresnel reflection settings. There's the reflection color, so you can make it have a reflection color. Okay, so kind of cool that they set it up so that it works like a V-Ray material, and then the gloss is just like normal. See how that works? Pretty cool. So again, if you are used to using V-Ray materials, then this will all make tons of sense to you, and maybe the Unreal materials don't. Okay, so I don't know if I like this or not. I kind of have gotten used to the Unreal materials, and I like how the Datasmith converts V-Ray to Unreal, but you still edit it as an Unreal type material. This one, you're truly editing it as if it was a V-Ray material still. It is quite a bit simpler, probably. So, self-illumination setting. Again, these are all settings that we would be used to. So that's how the materials work in here. They're all just children of that parent V-Ray material. Okay, and now the other thing that is cool about this is that you can type in V-Ray over here, and you'll see you have a V-Ray sun and a sky. V-Ray settings environment. These are like the override settings in 3ds Max. Okay, so you can put, a background color. That will be your dome light, basically. You can see that's changing my background color, right? Okay, so we won't really need that. We can change the GI color here. Let's just set this back to default. We can bring in the V-Ray sun and sky, which is cool. Okay, that immediately lights up our scene. So I really like the idea of this, the fact that you can do that. And then what you do is you just edit it over here. The V-Ray sun and sky root object here can be edited with the elevation. So you can just slide it up, slide it down. That, of course, changes the color, much like raising it above the horizon in 3ds Max and V-Ray. This setting can actually rotate the sun around. You can see that with the directional light selected, you can rotate the sun. We need a light mass importance box in here. Okay, let's build the lighting in here, see what we get. We'll just go on preview, build lighting. Okay, with the lighting built, this is where we're at right now. So it basically came in working. However, I will say that I think the Datasmith plugin really has it figured out better than V-Ray importer at this point. And it's just a V-Ray scene, save out and import, which is nice. I mean, it's very simple and easy. But like I said, I've been getting a lot of these materials that don't work right for whatever reason. Need to go back and look what the common theme is between those materials. And it's looking okay, but I feel like it might need a little more work than it would if it was a Datasmith. So there is some promising things though. I like that the V-Ray sun and sky is in here because that kind of simplifies the whole process. No longer direct light settings plus skylight settings. It's just a matter of dragging and dropping that in and then using the one object to adjust. There's other cool things in here with the V-Ray plugin, the physical camera. Okay, you can look through that. V-Ray physical camera, do this, back up, and you can actually render a scene, of course, in traditional V-Ray fashion. Okay, with this camera setting, we can find it over here, and we can edit its details. We can change the shutter speed to change the exposure of the camera. You can see my V-Ray sun and sky settings are not working great yet. Not sure why. Have to go in and mess with those, but they're not working great. But it is nice that you have familiar V-Ray settings in here. I mean, just the physical camera settings are similar to what we have in V-Ray with 3D Studio Max. Can adjust the white balance right here. And then it has some more of the traditional post-processing settings in it as well that can make that camera look like kind of whatever you want. And then you can also go to settings and render an actual scene. I'll just do that real quick. I'll leave the settings as default and just hit V-Ray, and it actually brings up something we're all familiar with, the V-Ray frame buffer. And you can render with actual ray tracing right out of Unreal Engine, which is an interesting feature. Not sure if it's something I'm going to want, but it is here. Okay, and looking through the camera and hitting render, this is what I'm getting currently. I have no idea why. I'm sure there's some good explanation for what's going on here. But the point is you can, in fact, render from V-Ray with real ray tracing, and it's got settings that you'd be familiar with again. So it's nice that we basically have a scene that's mostly ready here. There's obviously a lot of lighting things that would have to be fixed with the light maps and things like that. That would be pretty common for Datasmith as well. I feel like V-Ray right now for Unreal Engine is more of a beta product than Datasmith is, and that Datasmith I know has been in beta for a lot longer, and it's just become open to the public in the last couple weeks, but I feel like it's a much more polished software at this point. But that being said, V-Ray for Unreal does do a similar thing of just importing your scene directly in very quickly and easily, and it adds some additional functionality that we are used to in V-Ray. So for some ArcViz artists, this might be more appealing than the Datasmith version. So far, I'm going to continue using the Datasmith for now, but I can see in the future that I might be thinking, oh, it'd be so nice to have a V-Ray Sun and Sky. It'd be nice to be able to spit out a rendering of this since I've already got it in real time. I could just do a full ray trace rendering of it and give that to a client, you know, that kind of thing. I like the physical camera. I think that's promising, especially if they could integrate in perspective control like they have in 3D Studio Max. I haven't seen that yet. Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough, but I think that would be a huge tool. But yeah, that's a first look at the V-Ray for Unreal. Interesting product. Mostly I just love that the industry is realizing the need for ArcViz and real-time rendering to really merge together. And I think that in the future we will be doing much more real-time VR, a lot more things in Unreal Engine, and I'm really glad that there's these different links that are being developed to make it easier for that to happen. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Check out these products. Go get your V-Ray beta for Unreal, and keep up the good work.